Welcome to another edition of the Suns Jam Session Podcast on the Believe Network. My name is John Voida, managing editor of Bright Side of the Sun, co-host of the Suns Jam Session Podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us. It's the off season, okay? We're certainly in the doldrums of the off season, but thanks for hanging out with us here at the Suns Jam Session Podcast. I bring in my co-host Matthew Policy, the Policy. Remember how we tried to make that a thing?
Yeah, I think that lasted like a week.
It was like a week. I think it was episodes 13 and 14. We're like, dude, Matthew Policy, the Policy.
It was like, yeah. And if I was gonna make a little intro video. It was like, stop. This is the Policy. Stop. And then like wear my little like cop outfit with my big boobs.
Yep. Pull out a badge. It says the Policy.
The Policy.
You know, I was just watching. Did you ever watch Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Yeah. That's a show I used to watch. Yeah.
What happened? Nothing.
Yeah, it was the best. It was amazing, man.
I've shared on the pod that recently I've gotten YouTube TV, and I'm in the process of rearranging some things in my life relative to that. I took down the satellite dish the other day.
How did it go?
Fine. No electricity involved.
You didn't fall off?
No.
No?
But,
okay.
I don't know if it's the best thing to do when you are outside in 112-degree heat, like middle of the day, but I was like, I wanted to get it done. I wanted to put it. I bought one of the outdoor TV antennas that I kind of put into place that'll run through my house to the same cabling that DirecTV had, because I want to make sure that I have channel 3 to watch Suns games as a backup, knowing that I'm going to watch a lot of them on playback that will be at the games this season. But as a part of that process, and listen to Post Malone's F1 Trillion album on repeat, which was just fucking good.
Is that a country one?
Yeah.
Country now?
You know me, I love country and I love Post Malone. You put them together, it's a shit kick.
Brilliant
time.
Yeah, brilliant move by him, huh?
Brilliant. But you know, with those changes, rearranging the channel lineup and such, it's so much easier on YouTube TV. It's just ever since I made that change about two and a half weeks ago, life changing. Like, I absolutely do not know why it took me so fucking long to cut the cord, but I rearranged the channels, and before I came in here tonight at 7:30, I was sitting there watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and I'm just like, it's fucking great. Life's good. Yeah,
I remember like being like, when I came home from school, I was like, I cannot believe this is a show. This is the most amazing show ever. Just to be that excited about a TV show once again it'd be amazing. I would just be thrilled to death to feel that joy again to watching a show. Like, I used to watch Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Full House. Like, those were my two shows I loved to death, dude.
Yes.
I was like, what's gonna happen? Oh my god, how are they gonna get out of
comedy's just nonstop. Like,
is he gonna remember her name?
Hilarious.
What is her name?
What is her name? But yeah, you know, so just doing that before the show. This is the Suns Jam Session Podcast, and we're going to be doing the SunsRank Sode. That's what this one is. It's something that the great Dave King used to do on Bright Side every year. He would do Suns Rank, and the way that it will work is everyone who's a writer for Bright Side of the Sun would rank who they thought was the best Sun in order of 1 to the end of the roster. And I like that word best, because it is so subjective. And that's the point of this exercise. I typically don't like operating in extremes, like, you know, the GOAT, who's the greatest, who's the worst. That's the best season, the worst season.
Yeah.
But for the sake of this argument, it's fun because it adds just something to talk about in August relative to the Suns. So that's what we're going to do on this episode. We did the same thing, honoring what Dave did before at Brightside. Every writer wrote down from 1st to 17th. And we did all this before Ty Washington was a member of the team. He probably would have been slotted at 18th, and put 1 through 17. And that's what we're going to talk about, is where we rank certain players. And again, newsflash, Jamsters, shit's already changed, because Nasir Little is no longer a member of the Phoenix Suns. So I guess when we hit him on the list, we can really talk about what that means. But in the meantime, make sure you subscribe, rate, review, do all that fun stuff. Smash the thumbs up button if you happen to be on YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast, wherever you're doing so, click 5 stars. If it's on Apple Podcasts, write a little review there. We'll read it here on the pod. Truly, truly appreciate it, especially during this off-season time. So without further ado, should we do the drop? You drinking anything?
I'm drinking some water tonight.
Yeah, I have some Diet Dr. Pepper. Wow, that's
already cracked open.
Hold that open again, or hold that up. All right, I want you to drink that whole thing during this show.
I will.
Every time I'm talking, you're just over there.
I always do. It goes by so quickly. I just sip on it, you know. But since I've been doing the testosterone stuff, like, I don't drink as much water now. Like, I feel like my body retains water better. So, but I don't
retain water if you're not drinking it.
No, I am. I'm still drinking a lot. Like, remember when I used to drink so much water? Maybe
Yeah.
like
Every time
three
you come to my
gallons a
house,
day.
dude, a fucking
3 gallons a day.
I can't wait for football to kick off
So I can
because
make
you
sure.
come over, we make food all day. That
Yeah.
first Saturday or Sunday, the 8th of September. But the one disadvantage is I have to get extra water because you'll go through a
Yeah.
fucking
You
5-gallon jug
you actually have
yourself,
a
man.
5 gallon. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Son of a bitch. All right, well, let's drop the music and get into some Suns rank. That's right. Matthew Lissy is probably going to have to go take a pissy during this one because he's going to be pounding so much water. But yeah, we're doing Suns rank. So, I mean, I guess I could kick off with this question.
Matthew, I've got to ask.
So, Matthew, I got to ask, as you're sitting there and you're putting together Suns rank, ranking the players for the Phoenix Suns from the best player to the 17th, what does best mean to you in this specific exercise?
I think it's the guys that count on towards the end of the year. I really looked at it in like a long-term perspective to kind of go down the line and be like, all right, is this guy going to help us win a championship this year? Is this guy going to be vital? Is he going to be traded? Is he going to be someone that's really going to play some big minutes this year? So that's how I put it in order. And honestly, there's a few guys that got in there too, where I feel like I could still put in the top 5 that are in the top 5 through 8. So it will change throughout the season, I'm sure. But right now, man, it's like you don't really want to choose like Booker number 1, Kevin Durant number 2, Beal number 3. But
yeah, you do.
Yeah, but then you do. You have to. But it's the rest that's fun. I feel like it's the guys, the role players that are kind of miss and match. I think when you had it released on Brightside, everyone basically had Book number 1 or KD number 1, right? Or KD number 2 or Book number 2. So that's always going to be predictable. But the rest of it, I think once we get into it, that's the fun part.
Yeah, I think it's great that you said that because in my opinion, it should be that way. We put a poll out with every ranking that came out in this series that we published on brightsideofthesun.com. We asked if we got it right. I think we had 16 different people. So we had writers and podcasters that are connected to Bright Side of the Sun give their rankings. And I think there was only like 2 people who voted that neither Devin Booker or Kevin Durant should have been number 1 or 2. And that's like, duh, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course. And we're going to crescendo, obviously, as we're going to count down from 17 to 1 with who's number 1 and who's number 2, because we have a different number 1 and a different number 2. But it's the mid-level guys that you're really trying to identify who is the best on this team. And I use the term best because it's a catch-all that, in my opinion, combines talent, fit, and overall impact on the team. So you might have Damian Lee lower than I do because I think that Damian Lee is going to have this better combination of talent, fit, and overall impact. And in his case, I lean more towards the impact side of what he's going to provide because I think that that's going to be valuable. So again, it's completely subjective. Our ratings are going to be different than your ratings. Whoever's watching or listening to this, your ratings are going to be different than me, than Matthew, than any other person you talk. There's too many variables. It's very rare that you can find somebody with the exact same opinion. But that being said, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull up all of our picks, and we'll start at number 17 because, again, we put all this together before Ty Washington became a member of the Phoenix Suns as the final 2-way contract. Colin Gillespie comes in at number 17 for me, and he comes in at number 17 for you, Matthew. Is there anything you want to talk about when it comes to Colin Gillespie, or is he just kind of the worst guy on the Suns?
I think it comes down, I did say the role players would be fun, but when we're at 17,
this
16,
far,
15, yeah, right here, it's just like, there's not much to talk about. I think it's just basically the worst player on the team that's probably not going to see any minutes on the court.
Yeah, I mean, between him and the next guys we got upcoming, they're going to make an impact in some capacity at some point during the season, and it's going to be that annoying impact, right, Matthew? Like, Colin Gillespie is going to get some playing time due to an injury, and he's going to play 10 minutes in a game, and he's going to have 2 assists, no turnovers, and he's going to hit a 3. Like, mark it down. It's going to be, January 13th or something it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And everybody, dude, Colin Gillespie needs more minutes. Why is
Yeah.
Colin Gillespie not playing? It's because he's the 17th best guy on the team. Like somebody has to be the 17th guy on the team. That doesn't mean because he has a decent performance one time in January that you need to just overload him with minutes. And I know it's a conversation we're going to have again and again because we do every season when we see a guy come in like Saban Lee and we're like, oh, yeah, he needs more minutes. Fuck Saban Lee. Am I right, Matthew?
How dare you? How fucking dare you? Let him rest in peace.
Where is Saban Lee these days? Any idea?
He's probably smoking weed somewhere.
Yeah, down there at Cortez High School. Was that where he went?
Yeah. He might be playing the Scottsdale basketball league that I play in, and he might show up there. I don't even know.
Dude, there you go. You get to guard Saban Lee, and like
And
know that
just
he's not
cook
going to
him.
shoot a three, so
I'll
you
cook
just
him
play
out of their end, dude. Yeah. Average. Yeah.
Well,
definitely.
going to number 17, we both agree here. Jalen Bridges, the rookie coming out of Baylor. The reason I have him ahead of Colin Gillespie, even though Gillespie's has some time playing in the NBA, it's quite simple. I just think he has a higher upside of talent. And while he might not be a great defender, I think he's going to be a better three-point shooter. And he's somebody who I hope gets a lot of playing time actually down with the Valley Suns because he could develop into something. Is there anything else we need to cover on Jalen Bridges being the 16th best member of the Phoenix Suns, Matthew?
No, I think it's just a more fun, talented player, barely over Gillespie, but that's a guy that, like you said, might have some minutes with the Valley Suns. So that'd be fun to watch. You just have to put these two somewhere.
Yeah, and again, somebody who could have an opportunity to impact the Suns in some capacity during the season due to injury, and we should just leave it at that. He's not going to change the fate of the franchise. Here's where we start to get a little different, okay? So right here at number 15, you have Damian Lee, and I have Nasir Little. So I'll let you talk a little bit about Damian Lee, and then I'll talk about what happened with Nasir Little today.
Yeah, I'm sure yours makes a little bit more sense. But for me, Damian Lee, I don't know. I'm very excited for him. I think he can definitely fill that role for Eric Gordon, who left. But I'm not really high on him. I don't think it's really going to actually happen this year. I think he's been out a little bit too long. I think the way that this team kind of catches fire in the beginning, he might lose some minutes. He might not even be the reason that they're winning games. So due to that fact, I actually just kind of thought that he wouldn't really earn a lot of minutes to get those 3-point shots up, to kind of get in the groove and be that guy to come in and get hot. I just think there's other guys on this team now that we have 2 point guards. There might not be any room for him. Obviously, he's not a point guard, he's just a shooter, but I just don't think that he's going to get as many minutes as people think, just due to the fact he's been out for a while. And it's nice to say like him coming back and stuff like that, and it was expected, but it wasn't really my favorite thing of the offseason. So I think I'm just pretty low on Damian Lee.
It's understandable. You haven't seen him in over a season, and we don't know exactly how he's going to impact this team. So I don't fault anybody who's not as high on Damian Lee is. Spoiler alert, I was one of the highest writers on Bright Side of the Sun for Damian Lee, and I'll get to my reasons why when we arrive at his slot. The other side of this equation, Nasir Little, Nasty Nas.
Nasty Nas, what you square dance with me?
It's one of the last times I get to play that drop because the Phoenix Suns released him today. They actually, per Shams Charania, they will stretch the 3 years and $22 million remaining on his deal. So essentially what they do is instead of paying him the 22 over the next 3 years, they stretch that. So it's going to be a $3.1 million cap hit over the next 7 seasons. And what that essentially does is this year alone, it's going to save the Suns a ton of money. I think 22 million or so alone just this year, because we're in the second apron, because that money is so heavily taxed. That 6.75 that he was making this year is actually worth 22 million after luxury tax. So it does a couple of different things. You're not going to have to pay that much. You're going to get that savings, and you're also going to offer or open up a roster spot, because we know that James Jones assuredly over this offseason did everything he could to try to shop Nasir Little. And something that we talked about when we were going through the trade machine and we're going player by player. Kevin Durant, if you happen to be watching this, we did do Nasir Little as well, not just you. Get over yourself, bud. And we came to the determination there's nothing out there, or there's no team that would be truly interested in acquiring Nasir Little for a multitude of reasons. He has high upside, but he's been constantly injured. That contract is just outside of the range of something that's digestible, and it's a 3-year deal left on it. So it's not something where it's like, okay, we bring him in for a year and that money's gone and we could flip that roster spot.
Yeah.
So there was not a lot of options for the Suns. Financially, they knew they'd have to pay $22 million on a $6.75 million deal. It's, again, due to the second apron tax restrictions, you can't stack that contract. So the only thing you could do with it is go 1-for-1 with that contract. So they chose, and I believe rightly so, to get rid of Nasir Little. And it's going to open up a roster spot. And the question now becomes, do the Phoenix Suns go and try to sign somebody else, or do they keep that roster spot open and then try to fill it via trade with an Okogie trade, right? They send Okogie out, they get a couple people back. You know, there's a lot of, now you have options again. So what are your thoughts on Nasir Little's being waived by the Suns and how it impacts the roster moving forward?
You know, you just don't feel the fit anymore. Him being released, it was kind of a relief to me, just as a fan, just because I don't feel like he's going to get a lot of minutes here, obviously. Just with the team going in direction with the point guards and just the new coaching staff and just really having a new identity next year, it just would kind of be painful on the eyes to watch him out there, just because we struggled so much last year with him on the court later in the season. Early in the season, he had a really decent stretch there before he had a kid. And after that, kind of went downhill. And we were just kind of playing him in the playoffs. Like, hey, we have no one else. We got to throw some length out there against the Timberwolves. So that was his use. I don't think that it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, obviously, for the Suns, but it's not a bad thing where it's like, damn, you just kind of let him go. It's like, no, you save money, like you said. So it's good. It's a win-win situation. It really is for the Suns. And obviously he wasn't going to get playing time. I think we have a lot more guys in the front of him that would have took up his minutes anyways. So it's good to kind of get rid of him and just have the roster spot for somebody that might be more valuable than what he was going to bring next year. And his value just went down drastically. I felt like,
well,
just instantly after the All-Star break.
Like, look at my rank. I have him as the 15th best member of the Phoenix Suns, and he was getting paid nearly $7 million this year. That's not, you don't want that. And the fact that the Suns were astute enough to make that observation, again, probably doing their due diligence to try to find a home for him. But at the end of the day, you know, Nasir Little, one of my favorite drops that we've had. The way that I pieced that one together, it's got some Eminem in there. It's got some Nas in there. It was nasty, but so was his play, and he is no longer a member of the Phoenix Suns. So 15th on my board. We'll see where he ends up on Matthews. Look at that. He ends up at number 14 for Matthew.
If I would have known, I would have been 15, but
and number 14 for me, it is the rookie Oso Ighodaro. I think that's appropriate for me, you know, kind of like Bridges behind him, at least in my perspective. He's somebody who has to earn it. It is part of being a rookie, where we have the hype train. We have what we've seen in Summer League. We see some of the physical deliverables. We are positive about incoming rookies because they're new, they're fresh. The fact that the Suns added rookies on this team with Jalen Bridges and Oso Ighodaro and Ryan Dunn, like, I love the infusion of young talent. But we'll have to see it on the court, and it's going to be up to him to rise up the Suns ranks.
Yeah, I agree with 14. I have him, of course, a little higher, but I mean, do I have to talk about Little? I think
you can talk very little about Little.
But yeah, Little playing time. Suns Fever 83, really funny here. I don't think he will get much playing time, even at 14. He's talking about Little, so.
No, he's talking about Oso.
We have the Jamsters in the chat agreeing with our ranks, so
yeah,
that's very good.
No, but I'm going to bring that comment back up because I like what Suns Fever 83. One of our elite Jamsters, again, thank you for being an elite Jamster and showing your dedication and supporting the channel. Like, truly appreciate that. But Suns Fever 83 says, I still don't think he'll get much playing time even at 14. I agree with that, and that's probably that's one of the reasons why Oso Ighodaro is so far down on my list and was higher on some other writers' lists, because they thought that he was going to get playing time and have impact. I believe in his talent. I think that he's one of those players who is good at a lot of things, and they're fundamental things. I don't think he's great at one thing. A jump shot is not one thing he's great at. Rebounding is not one thing he's great at. I think his best skill is as a passing big man. And I just don't see where that really fits within the confines of what this team is at this point. And so he's not going to get a lot of playing time. He's not going to get a lot of, or he's not going to have a lot of impact. Therefore, he's a little bit lower in my rankings. But thank you for bringing that up. Suns Fever 83. All right, number 13 on our list. We both have the same guy ranked right there at number 3, and that is Josh Okogie.
Hey, Joe. Where you going with that gun of yours?
So why do you got J.O. at number 13, even with that, like, how much is he getting paid there? It's been a while since I looked at Suns contracts. Wow. 7 million, 8 million. He got he got that big.
Jamster's give us some contract info, okay?
Let me know.
Yeah, so Okogie, obviously I've always been very high on him in the preseasons beforehand. I just don't think that this year is going to be really big for him, just because it's the same kind of thing as like I was talking about with Lee, where we got a lot of other guys ahead of him, I feel like. But that might help him, though. That might help his play. If he's not playing too much, not as counted on, I feel like he can be a guy that can be explosive at times. So he might just fit that role. So I think being the 13th guy, maybe the 11th guy or even 10th guy towards the end of the season, that might help him. I think this is just a good spot for him because you're not asking too much, you're not putting too much pressure on him. And that might be where he thrives because he's a good role. He's a little fucker out there, right? He's a fuck shit up guy.
Yes, sir.
But too many minutes, too much on him. He can't really produce. So I think he finishes higher, maybe a top 10 guy, maybe by the end of the year. But right now, I just like him at 13.
Yeah, and shout out to Hey.0, 2 years, 16 million.
Okay.
And that's front loaded, I believe. I believe it's like 8.5 this year and 7.5 next year. Maybe it's the other way around. I don't remember. But that being said, I agree with you because we both put him at right at 13. And this is the zone right here. Right when you start in 13, in my opinion, is when you really start to test the depth of your team. Because you're going to have your starting 5. You're going to have most likely 9 to 10 guys playing every night. And then you're going to have injuries. And there could be up to 4 or 5, maybe even 6 guys injured at a time. And we know this as Suns fans because we felt this a little bit last season and a lot the previous season, right? We had a bunch of injuries. And then when we traded for Kevin Durant, we just depleted all of our depth. So you need to have these guys that are productive in these spots. Okogie is a productive guy. He is. He has the mentality. He's exactly like if this is your 13th guy, this is exactly what you want from your 13th guy. You want a fuck shit up guy. You want a high energy guy. You want a guy who can go out there and snag an offensive rebound when no one's expecting him to. But you're going to get the other side of that coin, and that's he can't shoot 3-pointers. And quite frankly, as a player, his floor might be not bottom of the basement, but his ceiling isn't very high either. And that's just Josh Okogie. David in the chat says, I like Okogie's energy, but he's really not a stopper, more of a pest.
Yes, I love that.
Great.
I love that. Yeah, because he obviously back in the day when we had Mikal Bridges, he was a guy that was definitely a stopper. He was someone that you would actually like. You kind of wanted him to play him and Ayton at the time against Luka when they were together. Like that was a fun kind of combo to throw at Luka.
They could play that defense.
They could be stoppers at the time. But yeah, he is just more of a pest, and sometimes it gets the worst of him because he'll get in foul trouble or just kind of make mistakes here or there to cost our team more than anything.
And you're not wrong. We will rely on Okogie at some point during the season.
Yeah.
I guarantee you. Guarantee you. It's just the way the season goes. That's why you don't have a 10-man roster, right? All right, looking at our number 12 spots, this is where we change a little bit, and this is where this one gets interesting. Okay, so this is the first time. Gosh, who should we talk about first on this, Matthew? Your guy or my guy?
I've been going first.
All right, well, let's talk about my guy. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. So I have Ryan Dunn here at 12, kind of for the reasons I had Oso Ighodaro a little bit further back as well. Rookie, I need to see it. I have faith in Ryan Dunn over other players, but I also slotted him right around Okogie on purpose because Okogie is kind of a Walmart version of what Ryan Dunn is, right? He's an energy guy, he's a defensive guy, but he can't really shoot. Well, that's Ryan Dunn. But going back to what David's comment was, rather than being a pest, Ryan Dunn's more of a stopper. So he's going to be higher on my rankings. I just don't have him at the point where I see him as a top 10 player on the Suns until I see some development. You have to have more of those impactful skills as a complete basketball player to be higher on the list, in my opinion. A great defender, a hustle guy, we haven't seen it offensively in college, and we didn't really see it in the summer league either. So he falls back to number 12 on my list. And then you have a guy at number 12 who is quite shocking.
Oh, hey, Monte, I'm really ain't got your money, don't you worry. I said, hey.
Should I keep the Forrest Gump voice, or should I make it more sing-songy?
I feel like we're gonna get kind of like nicked on that because of the voice. Because
You guys let us know in the chat. I don't like. I can change it to where it's more like sing-songy.
Like, I love it. I love it.
I do too.
We'll wait till Nike sends us that email, but like, hey, we can't sponsor you guys anymore after that. no, but I love it.
Well,
so
you
yeah,
have Monte Morris at number 12. Matthew, tell me why. That's insane.
Yeah, this is hard, but I just think the depth is so good on this team right now, and I think that Tyus Jones, after that pickup, he's going to play such a dominant role, and you still have those other three guys. I think them in their second year together with Bradley Beal, Durant, and Booker, they're going to really figure things out this year to where Booker or even Beal might play the point guard more too. So I think Monte, he was awesome, right? When we got him, we're like, oh my God, we actually got a good backup point guard.
Yes.
But then we still are like one of the teams in the league that still have a big three that need minutes, that need the ball. So I just think he's going to kind of suffer a little bit this year. I think it's an exciting thing to get him. It obviously is, but I just don't think he's going to be that big of an issue this year, or he's going to be handed that many minutes. Yeah, he's not going to be handed that many minutes, and it could increase, but I really just think that being on the floor, the guys help us win games. It's going to come down to the big three, Tyus Jones, and some other role players we got coming up. But right now, it's just Morris, I think, is going to kind of slip down and down and down the rankings as I have him at 12.
So you kind of what Hey.0 saying. He's like, I think Monte Morris will be a third stringer a bit. And that's kind of the same thought process that you have. I'm with you in the fact that I don't know how many minutes he's going to get, and it's going to be really predicated on injuries. But obviously I have him ranked higher than 12, and it's because I think that he will have a bigger impact. Injuries will be a part of this team, and so he will be forced to have that impact, and he has the talent to execute said impact. And that's what was so exciting about getting him, because we were thinking like, okay, sweet, we have a backup point guard. Now, if he's our backup to the backup point guard, Suns fans, that's fucking awesome. If our third string point guard is fucking Monte Morris, a guy who is a master of not turning the ball over, of ball security, of penetrating, has experience, the litany of attributes that he brings to this team, it's a great place to be in. And again, as a depth guy, I just think that obviously I have him ranked higher, and we'll get to that, but I don't disagree with you, because again, we're right in that zone where it's all subjective. And I can't tell you that you're subjective to this wrong. I could, if I think it's dumb, I'll tell you. And I don't know if I think him being that low is dumb. It's borderline.
It's close.
I'll tell you that.
Then yeah. If I would hit a little ahead of him.
If you had him at 13, and if you had a Kogi in front of Morris, that's where I would have thought it was dumb. But that being said, we still got some times to go. So I'm gonna question these things. Like, here we go at number 11. You think Oso Ighodaro is better than Monte Morris?
Yeah, I just think that, and I have to bring up this comment too from David in the chat. Wow, we got some extra comments in here. I thought I started.
It is. Just go start.
It's not there, is it?
Nope.
Oh, it was Hey.0. Oh, my bad. I thought it was David the whole time. Hey.0 did say, I could see him taking Plumlee's spot. So I can see that happening a little bit down the line too. If we want to be more athletic, obviously, it's him catching on is the biggest thing, is him actually improving and just showing that he can actually stand out on the team. And I think there's a possibility there. I just think the way the season ends up is that he will probably get more minutes in certain spots towards maybe the middle of the year than Plumlee, and we can kind of see him blossom a little bit. So I am a little bit higher on him. I don't think I really was when we first took him. But the more and more I think about it, the more and more I think about Plumlee. I'm like, well, we're going to need somebody else that's a little bit more athletic, that can, he's a 4-5, but then he can play big at times, but he doesn't have like the little jump hook anymore, really. I don't know if he ever had it, because in college he had it, but when he was pulling it out in summer league, it did not look good.
It did not look good.
There's something about him, and I don't know what it is. I just kind of see it when I was watching him in summer league. I'm like, he didn't stick out like Ryan Dunn, but also there's something there to where I think he might earn himself a spot and just kind of playing a bigger role this year.
I can see it. So you're banking on upside of Oso Ighodaro being somebody who could supplant Mason Plumlee as the backup 5. I don't know if I see that, because I see him, I think, more as a 4 or a very small ball 5, because you take a look at the Western Conference, and you noted this in a piece that you wrote for Brightside, talking about how the entire Western Conference got much larger at the 5, and the Suns, they didn't get necessarily larger, but they did get deeper in that capacity, because you got Yusuf Nurkic, and then you've got Mason Plumlee, and you got Oso Ighodaro, not large, but athletic in that capacity. So obviously I disagree with you. I think he's a little bit further down the list. And then this is another one I know we disagree on, because sitting right there at number
Look, up in the sky! It's a bird! It's a plane! It's
Boom, boom, motherfucker.
Number 1. You got a number 11. That's crazy.
I can't do it, man. I can't get him into the top 10. I get it. I was on the roller coaster last year, man. Having a good old time, being pleasantly surprised by what Bol provided for the Suns. But it doesn't mean I'm going to buy into him this year thinking that he's a top 10 member of this team. I can't get there for the same reasons I had challenges with him last year. I didn't think he was a great perimeter defender. He's too small on the interior. When he played against centers, he got cooked. He hit some threes. He hit some impressive runners in the lane, and he provided a spark off the bench and was very valuable to the mid part of that season. And I appreciate that. But I still think fundamentally I need to see some things on the other end of the court, the defensive end of the court, that will change my mind permanently on him. And David in the chat says we have no shot deterrence. Because you're talking about Oso Ighodaro, Mason Plumlee, Yusuf Nurkic, not a big shot blocker. Bol can be a shot blocker. Just the issue is he sells out so hard on the pump fake that's like, all you got to do is pump Bol once, and he still might be able to recover with those long arms. But I know a lot of Suns fans are super high on Bol, and they think that he should be ranked very higher based on the readers on Brightside and what they thought. I just disagree with it.
Yeah, I don't mind that. It's kind of like, I do have him higher, but it's kind of like last year when he was not getting minutes from our head coach Frank Vogel. There were some arguments there, but then I was almost like, I don't know if we're gonna win these games with him in there. He's definitely exciting. He would fill up the stat sheet, but it was one of those things like, I don't know if we're gonna finish these games out with him in there helping us win games. He was a little slow defensively. So it's just like, the offseason, man, if he's going to kind of capitalize and translate what he learned last year to this year plus more, then he'll definitely be a top 10 guy. But it's just, I don't know if you can count on him from that. You know what I mean? For that. Because that was his whole
think you can.
Yeah, his whole career so far was basically, well, he doesn't want to play, right? And he proved a lot this last year. So
he did.
I'm going to count on that.
I'm pleasantly surprised, and I'm happy to have him at 11, because Lord knows if we did this exact same game last year, this same exercise, he would have been much further down my list. So I tip my hat to you, Bol. You would have been like 14 or 15 with me. So just be happy. You're making your way up there. You're making your way up there.
Watching this, yeah.
Now coming in at number 10, Matthew has Mason Plumlee, who I haven't made a drop for yet. And this is where I have Damian Lee. So this is where obviously Matthew ranked Damian Lee all the way back at 15. Reasons understandable. Yeah. Coming off a meniscus injury, apparently a very serious one, because he didn't play at all last season. But I honestly think that he is going to have a great fit with this team, an overall impact. He has the talent. He's somebody who came in third in three-point shooting just 2 seasons ago. And I ranked him higher than most because I generally believe that his contributions this season will be significant. I see him stepping into his destined role and excelling. And that's the role that's being vacated by Eric Gordon. Last season, we really felt his absence. We missed a reliable three-point shooter coming off the bench, which is something that they desperately needed as a team. The Suns were dead last in the NBA, Matthew, for three-point bench shooting. They hit just 31.9% of their threes coming off the bench. And that's a team that holistically was 5th in the league in shooting, including their bench. So you take the bench out, the starters were the best in the league. We had high hopes for Aaron Gordon to fill this role, but he didn't deliver. He managed only 32.6% from deep coming off the bench. Not exactly the sharpshooter we needed. So where he failed, Lee can succeed. I believe that he will. We witnessed it in 22-23. It's going to happen again in 24-25, Matthew.
Oh, well, you got me pumped now. I hope it does, man, because that's the one piece we need, definitely coming off
Big
the bench. So yeah, I have Plumlee at 10.
Yeah, talk to me about Mason Plumlee there
so
at 10.
Right before Oso, so obviously I said that maybe later in the year he could probably take over his spot, get more minutes, but until proven, I don't know. I think we're excited to have Plumlee in a way, just to kind of have a backup center, but no shot to turns really there. We don't know what to expect. He is older, a little slower, kind of like Nurkic, not as slow, but he is still a big man that's going to have that second spot because he is a veteran, right? He's been in the league for a long time. Oso's going to come in here to have to prove himself, and that's going to be tough, man, to be next to a guy like Plumlee and be like, hey, I'm going to take your minutes. That's going to take a lot. And honestly, Plumlee can probably hold out for the rest of the year, and he might just hold out the whole year, taking that second spot as a backup center. So that's why I got to put him like right below Oso, just because I'm high on Oso, but not that high.
And again, the fun thing is it will be, much like the jammies, which we'll be doing before the season begins. We can do Suns rank at the end of the season and be like, yo, this is where it was before the season. Here's where we are now. And it'll be interesting to see if Iguodaro jumps Plumlee or if he falls all the way down. So we shall see. We shall see. Stay tuned. We'll let you know in 9 months or 10 months or 11 months. The next number 9 spot, this is where I have Plumlee. And kind of for the same reasons you stated, he is our backup big, and that will allot him opportunity to have an impact on this team. Due to his size, I think that it's going to be a great thing for the Suns, because how many times did we play the Clippers over the past? Well, maybe he's only there last year, but I felt like, fuck, these guys are just big. They got Ivica Zubac, and then who comes in to spell him? Mason Plumlee. I'm like, gee, you always have a big body down in the paint, who's rebounding the ball annoyingly, and they're not going to be somebody who's going to go out and score 25 points and get 15 rebounds. But coming off the bench, they're going to be solid. And Mason Plumlee, he's that for me. So we're both kind of right there having Mason Plumlee rated in that range. And number 9 for you is the guy who I had number 11. That's Bol Bol. This is your chance to tell me a cock and bull story.
It's a dream come true for me, and I think obviously for him, if he were to actually enter this season at number 9 in my rankings, it's happened. It's become official. Now, he can be a top 8 player, top 7, maybe. There's potential there, obviously, but like I said earlier,
7. Wow.
I think
it'd be amazing.
It would be great. And I have to go off of last year where I was high on him. A lot of people weren't. I didn't think he would turn out this great. But the only thing that he has to improve is just like
this great.
What's up?
This great. Like, he turned out this great. Like, he had his few good games in there. He hit some threes. The crowd went crazy.
But do you remember when we went to media day and he's just walking around and he had his interview? No one really cared. No one cared. Well, he won't be here, right?
It was the best meme of
but
media
he was
day.
The best thing last season. There was nothing. Obviously, I have Kevin Durant with Devin Booker. They're going to play fantastic the whole year.
He is one of the bright spots.
He's probably Grayson Allen and him are probably the two bright spots last year, right? Because you know what to expect from the other guys. But him and Grayson Allen were the two bright spots. But Bol could not stay in there in the big minutes. He just has that lackadaisicalness in him where he will just kind of float around on defense. He comes over a little too shy on the weak side to help. Yeah, just even the weak side blocks, because there's plenty of times being at the game watching, I'm like, oh, he could have probably been there in time. So if he shores up on that and he can actually be a defensive guy that can come in and detour shots, which would be nice, then we're talking about a guy that can be a top 8, top 7 on this team, I think.
David asks in the chat, is Bol a better fit with the starters because of spacing or with the second unit as a microwave playmaker?
I don't know. Did he help with spacing, though? Does he? He was hitting some threes, but I don't know.
He was hitting some threes.
The defense was never really on him, ever. I don't feel like, right?
No, the challenge with Bol, in that scenario, is in order for spacing to occur, movement needs to occur. And he isn't the most nimble mover. He's great straight line. He's great running in fast breaks, camping out, heading towards the rim. Yeah. And that's where he excelled. And, you go back, you watch Bol, man, there's a lot of great highlights. But from a running sets standpoint, from a screening standpoint, he's a horrible screener. You want him to set a pick and roll. He's just so long. And he doesn't know. He doesn't know how to leverage his body correctly. So I think he more as a microwave. I wouldn't say playmaker. I'd just say a microwave offensive player, somebody who can score in transition. And he's the great guy to have at home because he gets the crowd into it. Right. That was the most fun part about last season, was those people chant for Bol. And we heard it during October, and we heard it during November, and we heard it in December. And finally in January, he started to play, and he played well. and he continued to play well, and the crowd would go crazy. And then, as David says in the chat, he was trending nicely until he got Vogeled. And Vogel just like stopped playing him because Vogel's like, I don't want guys who are going to help us right now. And he is what we needed. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not low on Bobo. He is what we needed. You needed somebody to come off the bench and score 10 fucking points. And especially at home to get the crowd into it. Like, that's what fed the energy that kept everything going for when the starters came back in. But I'm just not as high at the upside.
Yeah, and the one thing is, like, we always thought maybe last year, going into the last season, that this team would be even better, and then he would play a lot of garbage time. So imagine that with garbage time and kind of putting teams away. That'd be nice to see this year.
All right, well, I think we're halfway through the rankings. We got like 20 minutes to go, so we're doing all right. Eighth on our list, this is where I have Monte Morris, and this is where you have Ryan Dunn. So we flipped.
Switcheroo, huh?
Yeah, I have Ryan Dunn at 12. And you have Monte Morris. I have Monte Morris at 8. You have Ryan Dunn at 8. So I'll go first because I feel like yours is more shocking. Again, backup point guard, in my opinion. I don't think he's the backup to the backup. I think you're going to start Tyus Jones. You're going to start Bradley Beal. You're going to start Devin Booker. And you're going to play this kind of 3 guard with Booker guarding the 3, right, on the defensive end. And then when the reserves come in, it's going to be Monte Morris, and it's going to be Damian Lee, and it's going to be Grayson Allen. And Grayson Allen could play the 3. Lee could play the 3, but he's a little small. But from a distributing standpoint, it's Tyus Jones and it's Monte Morris. So he's going to have that impact. In case of injuries, he's going to have opportunities to start. I really believe that the Monte Morris pickup, it's exactly what you need. Like, if you're building a fantasy football team, right? Like, you're not talking to everyone sits, and we're all going through this right now. For those of you who play fantasy football, a lot of drafts are upcoming. In fact, I run a league, and it's a double keeper league, and I do a show just like this every year to reveal who everyone's keeper is. I got a nice graphic over here, and I did it before this show, and I was on mute for 2 minutes by myself because I didn't have Matthew next to me to tell me that I'm a dipshit, and I wasn't unmuted. But we're all going through it right now. We're all talking about who am I taking number 1, who am I taking number 2. It's who you take in the 8th, 9th, and 10th that truly make your team great. That's the depth adds. Those are the high upside guys. And to me, that's what Monte Morris is. So that's why I have him so high against what you have. Tell me why Ryan Dunn is so high on your list, Matthew.
Well, I do like Dunn at your spot. I think that just means this team's going to actually really feed into those point guards and have more success. So I'm very excited about your number 8 pick. My number 8 is just kind of just going off of feeling. You can't read too much from Summer League, obviously, but I do see something in him. I do see something that kind of just translates to the NBA kind of easily. I kind of think that he will mold himself into a guy that can play with the starters, that can play with the second unit. He's going to be very valuable, obviously, defensively. He is a gym rat. I think he's the perfect fit with a guy that is young. I'm not saying he's going to play a long time with the Book, but it's nice to have a younger guy that can play with Book, hopefully down the line for a couple of years. Maybe they can build something there to be that defensive stopper, maybe mold into even like a 3-point shooter eventually. He will get better in all facets of the game as the years progress, but I think he really does show himself out this year and just has a big impact on this team.
I really hope his offensive game comes around, man, because all of that will be true if he can play offense. Because if not, he can be a great defender all he wants, but you're going to be going against defenses that are putting 5-on-4 players because it's the Okogie effect, right? Okogie literally stands in the corner and no one fucking guards him, and they put 5 of their defenders on our 4 guys, and it just makes life so much harder. Hey.0 says Voida, but Beal or Booker will likely still run the point. I don't think so at all. We have Tyus Jones now.
We hope not.
Yeah, why would they run the point? There will be aspects where they might bring the ball up, but like from a playmaking standpoint, from an offensive set standpoint, it's Tyus Jones, baby. That's the beautiful thing about it. That just
depends on the locker room stuff, the egos. You never know.
You never know. All right, number 7 on the list. This is where Royce O'Neal comes in for me, and this is where this is a little further down the list, but this is where you got Nurk Daddy.
Nurk. Delicious definition make them boys go crazy.
Oh, 7. Wow. Matthew's low on Nurk Daddy. Tell me why.
I don't think I'm really low on him. I just think the guys ahead of him are that much better. I think they're guys that I'm really excited about. Nurk, I'm very excited about. Obviously, a great season. He kind of fell off in the playoffs, but he's very valuable.
Fell off in the fucking playoffs, except Booker and them in game 4.
But Nurk, to me, I just think that he's someone that establishes himself as our center. He's the guy there. He's the guy that can pass the ball. He can grab those boards, has some big monstrous roast beef sandwiches,
Arby's.
rebound games.
He's got the meats.
Yeah, a lot of roast beef sandwich games.
Mm.
And because of that, he's a guy that he's the dude there. He's there. So it's a guy that everyone can kind of like basically just mold themselves around him, become who they want to be. There's a lot of talent around him, so he's very valuable, but I think he's just going to be there. There's just other guys I have ahead of him. I didn't know where to put him, so I put him 7.
Well, I will say when you start talking about roast beef sandwiches, side note, I'm talking to Shan about maybe doing sourdough hoagie rolls for Football Sunday. Make your own sandwich bar.
Oh, I would love that, man.
Yeah, am I right?
And then we get pizza when the Cowboys probably play Sunday night, right?
Nope, they play the afternoon game. So it's Cardinals in the
I
morning,
don't care about the Cowboys.
and then the Cowboys in the afternoon, and then whatever the Sunday night game is.
I had a dream about them, and it was very disappointing. And I just don't want to watch them this year, man.
Yeah, they have no running game. I'll talk about Nurkic when it's my time to talk about Nurkic, but this is where I have Royce O'Neal, and I feel like that's exactly where you have Royce O'Neal. It's exactly where you need him. He's our best wing, in my opinion. You know, every other guy kind of serves a role, but when you talk about a wing bench player, Rolls Royce, baby, that's where I have him at. That's all I have to say about Rolls Royce. Not too much. Got to find my things. All right, number 6. This is where I have Grayson Allen. This is where you have Tyus Jones. So Grayson Allen, for me, a lot of different writers had him much higher. Rightfully so. The guy led the league in 3-point shooting last season. Mm-hmm. But I think that with the construction of this roster, with Tyus Jones entering the picture, Grayson Allen's going to be the 6th man. That's why he's 6th for me right there, right? He's going to be the 6th man. He's going to be the guy coming to the bench. He's going to come fill the role that ultimately we thought he was going to fill last year, right? Like, remember when we were all having that conversation preseason, who's going to be the 5th starter? Is it going to be Bol? Matthew once said. I was making a case for Keita Bates-Diop. It was Grayson Allen all season. It's not where we needed him. I talked about Damian Lee having the ability to fill the Eric Gordon role, and he will. But Grayson Allen's going to fill the Eric Gordon role from a small forward position, in my opinion. So that's why I have him there. You have Tyus Jones, his first appearance on our list at number 6. Tell me why.
You know what? This is where it actually really gets tough. I'm very high on Tyus Jones. I think he's going to play a big role leading this team to many, many victories. But there's just other guys ahead of him that I think that are going to play bigger roles, hitting bigger shots and bigger situations for this team. I think Tyus Jones gets us to those situations. I think Tyus Jones leads the team, you know, in those fourth quarter early runs to really kind of put a team away or else kind of take back a lead. I don't know if he's a guy finishing games yet either. You saw the big 3 and you got to fill the void around them with shooters, which would be Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal. So I'm obviously much higher on Grayson Allen. He's a guy that's going to hit bigger shots, probably be even more wide open when we had Tyus Jones in there. But Tyus Jones is exciting. I was kind of upset putting him at 6 and then putting Royce O'Neal ahead of him, but I'm really going off of guys that are going to like be really key in big situations this season to put teams away. And I just don't think he's going to be part of that lineup.
See, and that's where we differ, because I absolutely think he does. Because I think what makes what we ran into so much last year was in those final minutes was just so much isolation ball. And in the NBA, you're going to get that, right? Like every team has guys who run isolation sets with the ball in the hands of their superstar every night. But when you have somebody like a Tyus Jones who can distribute, who can run an offense, and those guys can play off ball and find themselves in plus matchups and plus situations, coming off back screens, getting open, taking open shots versus dribble. I'm starting to attack. Here comes a double team. We're fucked. There's 3 seconds left in the shot clock. Yeah. Booker's got to take an 18-footer. It was off balance. What a horrible shot. You're going to have somebody who can impact the offense in a positive way. Tyus Jones is going to be, in my opinion, he's going to be ending the game with the starters.
Okay.
Do you know who Tyus Jones' grandmother's cousin was?
It doesn't matter.
It just doesn't matter. Number 5. I just saw the drop and I was like, I'm going to go for it. All right, number 5, for all the reasons I just stated, that's why Tyus Jones is my number 5 guy, because he's going to be playing with the starters. And I think it was David who was talking in the chat, or it was Hey.0 a little bit earlier. Let's see who was saying this about Hey.0 was saying Tyus Jones will run the point, but will rest early to play with the second stringers. And that might be true. The way that they stagger lineups, is going to be an interesting approach for Mike Budenholzer and how he wants to attack this or utilize, this year's lineups. But at the same time, when it comes to ending games, I truly believe that, it's going to be, as I just stated, you're going to have the ball in a playmaker's hands. You're going to have him dictate the offense and allow the ancillary players who are the all-stars utilize their plus matchups in an effort to exploit opposing defenses. So I guess it's my long way of saying that this is the guy who's in my number 5 spot.
Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la. Uh-huh. Mr. Jones and me.
Is that Jimmy Fallon though?
No, that's
he
taken.
Looks like Jimmy Fallon.
That's taken straight from the
Okay.
Mr. Jones
he looks
music
like
video. That's the first, I played the audio on the pod, but I haven't played the video. So for those who are watching, that's the first. I can't wait to put Tyus Jones in a Phoenix Suns uniform there. But I'm high on Tyus. I'm so like that. To me, Tyus Jones is what Eric Gordon was last offseason. Remember when we got Eric Gordon? We're like, fuck, dude, there it is. That's the last thing we needed. That's the guy. That's Tyus Jones this year. Let's hope it turns out differently.
Yeah, no, let's hope. And I think the reason I had him at number 6 was because I'm now going to start going down our death lineup, right? The thing we were excited about last year, but kind of just didn't happen because we're going to have guys in the top 3 that are going to need the ball and want the ball. So get rid of Tyus Jones. Did a great job. Great. All right, now we got our shooters in around our stars. And it starts with Royce O'Neal, who obviously I don't think I was really big on him in the offseason. I was like, he's back.
You weren't.
I was like, whatever. But just like who was I like that earlier? Was it Monte Morris? Monte Morris is the same thing, kind of. I was excited, but now I'm like, I don't know. So opposite of that, Royce O'Neal, definitely a guy that I think is going to fill that role. He had some big shots last year of just being a shooter. Defensively, we're going to go small. I just think he's a perfect size, perfect fit with the big 3. And obviously I'm going to have Grayson Allen in there too. A little sneak peek for the top 4.
Yeah. If Nurkic is 7, obviously.
Yeah. And I just think this is who you're going to end the season or end the games with, that you want to end the games with. I think this is the reason that Royce O'Neal probably came back too, is because he knows he's going to probably be in those ending lineups playing bigger minutes with the 3 stars. And I just think he can be that guy. there's something that switched in me, man. I'm like, he's a defensive guy. He's a 3-point guy. And obviously, like I said, you don't ever bring these guys back. So there's something there, something more special. So I think he ends the games with the big 3.
But don't you feel like if our closing lineup is your top 5 guys, which is, we haven't gone through the order yet, but it's going to be Royce O'Neal, Grayson Allen, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker. Don't you feel like we've seen that before? And don't you feel like it was unsuccessful?
Yeah, but we believed it to be successful, but it
wasn't.
But there was one guy though. It was the head coach Frank Vogel. So I don't even know. The only way we ever win in this season or win a championship is if KD does turn out to be the guy that can handle the ball more. Bradley Beal do the same, and Devin Booker. I think those guys have to learn to play together and handle the ball. I think it's nice we have the point guards, but I just don't think you could end the game with that guy bringing down the ball and setting guys up, and then the other guys just stand in the corner. I just think those guys have to feed off of each other somehow and work it out.
So you want Royce O'Neal and Grayson Allen to go stand in the corner?
Yeah, I want those guys, and I want the big 3 to fucking figure it out. I think that's the only way we're going to win these games.
But wouldn't it be better if the guy standing in the corner was Kevin Durant, not Royce O'Neal?
It'd be nice, but I don't think he wants to do that.
I think he absolutely.
I don't think those guys.
He wants to score.
Think those guys want to do it.
I think he wants to.
He would score, but like, what if he's open in the corner and they don't give him the ball? He's like, I was fucking wide open. You know what I mean?
If they lose, that'll be an issue.
That's Royce O'Neal.
I guess Royce O'Neal won't say that. He's like, I'm just happy to be here. Yeah, this is where I disagree. And that's okay. Yeah. I think that Tyus Jones has to be part of that closing 5 for this team to be successful, because we witnessed it last year, and that's why I'm so adamant against it, because I saw what this team was like without a point guard in the final minutes of games in the fourth quarter when we needed playmaking, when the opposing defense is hampered down on us and we didn't have somebody who was smart with the ball. All right, they can all handle the ball, but none of them are fucking smart with it. Whereas Tyus Jones is super smart with the ball. He doesn't turn the ball over. So continuing down the Suns rank, number 4, this is where you have Grayson Allen. This is where I have Yusuf Nurkic. I think we understand why Grayson Allen is in this spot for you, because, as you just stated, they're your desire for their affinity to be a team that has knockdown shooters. So when the big three are trying to execute what they're doing, if they do get stuck, you got Grayson Allen sitting over there on the side and just being like, I'm wide open, throw me the ball, I can hit it. So
Yeah.
Okay, so that was a good summation. Let's see. Do I have the Grayson Allen drop? Let's see here. Oh, here we go.
Hi, Barbie.
Oh, hi, Alan.
Oh, Grayson Allen,
A fuck shit up guy.
It's a little different, right? What, you don't like that one?
No, I love it. That's why I love it. 'Cause it's like, oh,
A little different from last year, changing that one up. This is where I have Yusuf Nurkic. And again, I'm going through kind of the starting five and my closing five. And Nurkic, while I feel like Jones probably could be here number 4. Like I've almost talked myself into the fact that he is our number 4, but Nurkic lives at number 4 because he's going to have to be the impact. He is the connector. He is going to be so vital to this team's success. And I think that he can be. He's going to be comfortable in his role. He's looking slimmer. I don't know if you've seen his pictures on the IG. Looking a little slimmer. But you never know how slim that really is because he's not standing next to
but
anybody.
He's an athlete too. Like, you know what I mean? Him compared to the other guys that are on the court, he looks bigger. That butt looks bigger, but
the butt's a little bigger.
ham sandwich.
I like what Mark N says. He's like, Grayson needs a new catchphrase. Yeah, I called him the fuck shit up guy when we first got him, and he ended up not being a fuck shit up guy. So we might have to change it. I don't know. I mean, he is what
Something
he is
will
at this
happen.
point.
Something will come up.
Something will happen. Something will come up. Like he might lead the league in 3-point shooting or something. I don't know. Coming up next, I think everybody at Brightside had this guy ranked number 3, except for one writer. Bradley Beal, number 3. I don't think that there's any argument there. I think that we had higher expectations for him, but ultimately they didn't come to fruition. But Bradley Beal at number 3.
And she said, you're not the only one, but you're the best, Bradley. Bo, bo.
I mean, a guy who averaged 18 points a game last year, and granted the injuries and things of that nature, but this is your third best guy on the team. He's averaging 18 points, but he shot 51% from the field. He shot 43% from beyond the arc and 81% from the line. Like a 50, 43, 81 guy as your third best player. That's not a bad thing, Matthew. I think he's perfectly slotted right there, and I'm okay with him giving us the same production next year.
Yeah, and I think a lot of games this year too, like when he was actually playing, he was like our favorite guy out there to end the season. He was definitely the dude
he
we
gave
relied
us
on.
shit.
He gave us shit. And that's why it's going to be so hard for these guys to kind of give it up to somebody else. And, if you want someone else in the corner, that's fine, like a Beal or Kevin Durant. It's just the fact that if they're looking at each other in the locker room, like, hey, Booker, Beal, Kevin Durant, like, how are we not working this out where we can just fuck teams over? Like, they have to have that. Obviously, they have that as a mentality. Depends on the coach, too. But that mentality is going to, I think, come across this year, and it's going to just play a big factor where Beal can be even arguably the number 1 player at times in the season during stretches. So,
yeah,
top 3 can really vary, man.
Exactly what you need from a number 3 guy. So I don't think we need to spend too long on that. Coming down to our top 2, Matthew and I have different guys. Number 2 for me is one Devin Armani Booker.
Big.
Nope. I thought I had a new version of that. Matthew's mid-yawn.
Dude.
That's mid-yawn.
Oh,
all right, well, Matthew's got Kevin Durant.
Who the heck are you?
I'm Kevin Durant. You know who I am. Y'all know who I am.
Did anybody see a sniper? Did anybody see anything?
I'm one of the best players to ever play the game.
I gotta find. I have like an update to the Booker drop, and I don't know where the fuck. I thought I downloaded it and I uploaded it. But tell me why your Kevin Durant is only number 2 on your team, and by your team I mean our team, the Phoenix Suns team.
I was always a believer in Booker having to be the best player to really win anything and win a championship on this team. But I mean, I'm going to have him at number 1, but I just think him and Durant are obviously going to trade that off this year. But just watching the Olympics too, you can kind of see how Durant would be just the perfect number 2. The defense kind of relaxes on him due to like other shooters, and it's actually sinking as an offense. Then you'll see him perform even better, which is impossible, it seems like, because of the stats he put up last year. But it just seems like it would be maybe a more efficient year for him. I can see him as the number 1, but I just have to go number 1 with Book. Obviously, he will be number 1 for me, just because he's Booker and he's my favorite player on the team, and I feel like he has to go to another level too for us to win anything. So Durant's where he is, he's comfortable with who he is, and I think a number 2 spot is just perfect for him.
Thank you. That was a great filler why I found this drop. I love Devin Booker too. He is my favorite player on the Suns. He's my favorite Sun of all time. But right now there's 2 parts of this. One, these rankings came before the Olympics, which shouldn't really change much. But just from a perception standpoint, it just fortified why I love Devin Booker as a player. But it came down to one simple thought process for me. When the game's on the line, who do I want to take the shot? That was my deciding factor on who's the best member of the Suns. Mm-hmm. And so one of them was Kevin Durant, and one of them was this guy.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is
Big Dick Booker.
Eh?
There it is.
Eh?
Yeah, it's nice, dude.
Better?
Yeah.
All right.
Incredible.
I don't know.
I love it.
It's got the eggplant emoji at the end.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
It's my favorite part.
And for me, it came down quite simply to Kevin Durant. If the game's on the line, for me, it's Kevin Durant. Okay. For a lot of different reasons. One of the greatest scorers of all time. Unblockable shot. Devin Booker's blockable. Devin Booker, when the game's on the line, he takes that like running out of bounds 3-pointer a little too much. And maybe I'm thinking way back like 6 years ago, but like I still think I still see it all the time. He did it against the Knicks. It wasn't out of bounds, but it was close to out of bounds. And they won the game at the Garden. So it was an amazing shot. But if it comes down to who do I want to take the last shot, for me, it's Kevin Durant. And that's why he's my number 1. You have Devin Booker.
You know, I like yours. I think Booker is best at number 2 on a team. But the thing is,
He's number 1 in my heart.
I know, but I just don't know if we had Kevin Durant 5 years ago or when he was with the Brooklyn Nets, when he hit that shot, maybe he would be obviously the number 1 guy. I just don't know what we have left with him this year. So that's why I decided to put him number 2. But I think the Suns win and they get those 70 wins a year if it's Booker's the number 2 guy on a team. So
well, we shall see. And we'll come back, Jamsters, with our predictions on the season. All that fun stuff lies ahead. We will be taking a couple weeks off as we've truly hit the doldrums of the off season. We got fantasy football drafts and shit next week and whatnot. But appreciate you letting us entertain you, or at least run this list by you. A refresher of our lists. My list starting at 17 downwards. Well, let's go from 1 backwards. My number 1 player, Kevin Durant. 2, Devin Booker. 3, Bradley Beal. 4, Yusuf Nurkic. 5, Tyus Jones. Grayson Allen, then Royce O'Neal, Monte Morris, Plumlee.
I always forget too.
Yeah, I'm like trying to new guys, you know. Lee, Bull, Dunn, Okogie, Iguodala, Little's gone, Bridges, Gillespie, and then Matthew goes Booker, Durant, then Beal, then Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, Tyus Jones, Yusuf Nurkic, Ryan Dunn, Bol, Plumlee, Iguodala, Monte Morris, Josh Okogie, Little's gone, Damian Lee, Bridges, and then Gillespie. So if you're listening on Spotify, head over to the poll section. Let us know whose list you agree with more. And yeah, that's all we got. Anything else we want to talk about before we get out of here?
I think I'm good.
All right. Well, again, thank you everybody for joining us. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Hope you had a good time and we entertained you with some of our fun stuff. As David says, hit the like button on the way out the door. Truly appreciate it. It's the best way to support the podcast. But on that note, Matthew, tell people
go and love your family, everybody.